this is Natasha from Earthbound Therapeutics. Today I wanted to reach out and get on this video thing. So first things first, wanted to talk about some pelvic floor muscles and some stuff like that. I know you guys are all in quarantine. It's been it's been a couple of weeks of a lot of stressful times, so you're not alone. Hang in there, it's almost over, and I just want to get started. So I'm gonna show you some of my pelvic floor models and go over this stuff, so bear with me. All right, so I'm gonna transition my camera downward. All right, so when we talk about the pelvic floor muscles, we're talking about bundles of muscle fibers that intersect and connect the support of the pelvic organs. These organs are often described as a hammock or a sling. They're complex muscles. They also assist in fecal and urinary continence. They stabilize joints, and they are attached to the front, the back, and the sides of the pelvis, which is sacrum's back here. I'm going to show you another model that I have. This is the sacrum back here. And on my other model, if you take the pelvic floor out, okay, so this is a better view of the sacrum. You see a lot of veins in there. So if you are ever having sciatica and just round ligament pain and all that kind of stuff, and that shooting pain that goes down your leg, that, my friend, has to do with this. And see, what happens is we have venous pumping from the our venous system and our circulatory system. Everything's pumping, which helps drain lymph and carry fresh oxygenated blood to the pelvic organs. And then during pregnancy, these muscles experience a great deal of strain, overstretching from supporting a downward pressure of a growing baby, okay? And then we have hormonal changes, softening of the tissue. It leads to stretching and weakening of the tissues and the muscles of the pelvic floor. Now, mind you, even during postpartum, you've had coach pushing, which I tell my clients that coach pushing is a no-no. That's like if I were to tell you to go take a bowel movement right now, you wouldn't be able to do that. And you can ruin your bladder doing those coach pushing motions. So when you feel a contraction and you feel like you can't help it, when you have a contraction and you have the urge to push, that baby's coming no matter what. So that's when you should push. That's when it's okay to push. But when you're in labor delivery and they're saying, you know, push, push, you know, bear down like you're having a bowel movement. If you don't have the urge to push, if you don't have the urge to poop, then you don't do it, because you're ruining your organs. So another thing for postpartum moms, even women that are having their menses, when we add our uterus here, okay, so we have the fundus, the fundus of the uterus, and then up here is the cervix. This is the vagina insert, okay? These are the ovaries, and then we just stick it in here like this. And then that is all sticking in there, mind you, okay? So when this happens during pregnancy, or you have your menses and stuff like that, and then you have your sacrum here, not things, but a baby, or you're having your menses and your uterus swells up, because that's what it's doing. The endometrium lining is allowing blood flow to come out. So that's when you're having blood coming out, okay? That creates inflammation, swelling, okay? And when that happens, there's a lot of pressure on here. And then on top of that, you have your uterus, you have all these organs, and then you have back here, let me see if we can, whoop, this thing kind of comes apart. And then you have your anus, okay? And you have your bowels. So all that is pressing up on this great deal of pressure of your sacrum, okay? And I have clients that come to me and they're like, gosh, it just really hurts. I need to release this. Or, you know, well, you have either, if you don't have a baby in there, putting pressure on these nerves, okay, when we stop the venous flow, okay, or any kind of oxygenated blood to the pelvic organs, okay, that's when stuff becomes stagnant, okay, things start to hurt. Okay, so this here is our sacrum, and we have nerves going in and out of there, okay? You have your pubic symphysis, all right, your vagina opening, and your anus, and then your sacrum. So all of these things, you can even have a pelvic obliquity, okay? Pelvic obliquity means, let's see, when the pelvis becomes unstable due to hormones, or you have, you know, like for me, I had almost a 10-pound baby. I had a traumatic birthing experience. My son almost died. If he was 2 minutes longer, he would have been brain dead. I had a lot of bladder issues, but I've been in this field for over 13 years. Prior, I was a labor and delivery nurse, but I am doing things on a more holistic and osteopathic Chinese medicine route. I'm also an integrative therapist for body work. But with that being said, with what happened was my pubic symphysis. So this is your pubic symphysis right here. And there comes a lot of pushing and pulling. Your baby comes out. With me, my pubic symphysis was like this, okay? So that's what happens when a pelvic obliquity. And then turn around and put hormones, okay? We're talking about, you know, all the oxytocin, progesterone, all that kind of stuff, you know, just the obliquity of things. You're just so, the tissue is fibrous, it's flexible. So then we go into play and we're gonna talk about fascia. So let me show you about fascia. So let's see if you can see this. Okay, right in here, this is fascia. This is what's holding everything together, okay? So when we talk about fascia, that's holding our organs and everything in unison, everything together. And it's very important. It's important to continue to have a good, stable pelvic floor, and your uterus and all your parts in there. So when we talk about stability and we're talking about the pelvic floor muscles, we want to make sure that you stay healthy, you know, and you're hiring the right fitness trainer, or you're educated in knowing how to hire that person, or if you know that they're educated enough, and just asking the right questions. You don't want to self-inflict or injure yourself subconsciously because you just don't know. And some moms don't, because they're like, oh yeah, you know, this is cool. But so if you're in a asana practice, or you're doing yoga, you're doing CrossFit, you're doing some motherhood, strength training, that kinds of things, it's important that you don't push, create a great deal of overstretching, pushing, pulling, straining, because hormonal changes are happening, and all these tissues in here are soft, okay? And it leads to weakening of the tissue of the pelvic floors. Not of the pelvic floors, of the pelvic floor. You don't have two pelvic floors unless you're pregnant with a baby. So basically staying strong, doing some breathing techniques, and knowing how to gauge and knowing where your ego is. Sometimes, you know, there's moms out there, they were physically fit, and they continued, but they injured themselves, and they didn't know until after postpartum. But all I'm saying is being educated, mindful, knowing the anatomy and physiology of what you have. I think it's important that all women should know what their parts look like, and that kind of thing. So later to follow, I'll be posting some additional osteopathic stuff, as well as anatomy and physiology, possibly some birth education, naturopathic and Chinese medicine, and holistic healing. So stay tuned, and thanks for listening. Take care.